This is Deuce, I'm Jason, and we're here with Virginia on the gorgeous Tampa Causeway, and we're doing the One Light Challenge this morning. Check out Virginia's work on Instagram at Pink Sparklin' Glitter.
Okay, so let's start with the first one. That one, like you just heard me complain about on set, I don't like using a flash necessarily without it being gelled on early sunrise. I always feel like the highlights come out really blue. I don't know if you see that.
I mean, on location for sure. The original shot on camera was very blue. I was using daylight white balance when I was shooting, just because my flash is hitting at 5600 Kelvin. So it's right on the money for Nikon's daylight white balance preset, but it's gonna look a little colder than what our eyes were seeing out there. We're used to seeing, you know, more of redder, yellower light. We've both only done a color pass on our photos, but I would definitely address the blue and the highlights in Photoshop on a further pass with a brush to bring those highlight streaks down off her forehead.
Now the second shot, you shot that with the 35, right?
Yeah, that was with my 35. I was maybe 4 or 5 feet from the subject there.
So for that one, I don't like the color towards the sky. I feel like it's green. I'm not a big fan of that green color. I like my skies to stay blue if I can keep it blue. So I'm not super happy about the color on that part. Compositionally, I don't know if the 35 stretches the body out enough for her. I feel like it may also, because of the distortion in the bottom right-hand corner, I feel like it may cause a crunch there.
I think part of that was I didn't have her bring her her left elbow out off her side enough. She has a very small waist and you know, very nice curvy hips there, and I wasn't using that to her advantage. I had a dark background against a dark colored shirt there, and that is something I do need to pay attention to more. I was counting on the sunlight giving a little more separation there, and it didn't come through the way I'd hoped. You know, she's not very tall. She's about what, 5'2" or so. So
maybe a little taller.
So shooting from eye level and kind of tilting down for this composition, I was counting on a little bit of a body stretch there, but her curves didn't come through against that dark background.
So the third one, it's got kind of a Top Gear feel to it. Sky's much bluer, so I like the color on this one way better. I think I would do a little bit of a yellow brush on the sun itself, and when it comes to the composition, I'm not sold on that part. I feel like automatically the first thing I would do taking this photo is I would cut out the negative space at the top. I just feel like it's way too much space for her head.
But when I shoot a subject on location, typically I'm shooting for a story. It might be a photo that's going in USA Today, it might be something that's going on someone's blog. But it's always good to have something that can run double truck with the story on it. So a shot like this on location, and if you were just going to put it in a picture frame and call it a day, yeah, I too would definitely crop that in. Something like this for editorial usage, you have room to her right side on the left page in this layout here, where you could put your story, you could put your headline across the whole top of the frame. And on the right side, you can throw a call-out box with a couple bullet points about the story, facts and figures about the location you're shooting at, things like that.
So now let's talk about the leading line real quick.
Yep.
Over here, I've got a leading line down to this side. Why not have that? Why not have the frame starting from there and using more of the sea and ocean to give that?
Kind of one of my thoughts on that was, again, with editorial usage in mind, having the darker area with the palm trees and the parked cars, a little bit of glint of sunlight off of that, is a little more muted than having the sun behind where an editor might want to put some text. It's one of those things where text will just read better on it, especially if it's gray and like fading to white as we get darker towards the bottom of the frame.
Right.
So that, again, you know, kind of an editorial shot in mind there. And as a whole, these three keepers are the keepers I chose because you have a beginning and a middle and an end. And we were chasing light. We got there just as the sun was peaking above the horizon. You know, it's one of the warm to cooling off to kind of that cooler blue on the sky.
Now let's talk about them as a set. Yeah. As a set, do you feel like they're too repetitive?
They are a little bit. That was, I think, a little more a factor of time. I think the time between first shot and last, from spiking the light to turning off my pro photo and handing the model over to you was about 15 minutes on location. So I definitely could have done more. So
overall, what I would say is I was impressed with how fast you got the shots in. I mean, from start to finish, all of them were solid shots because I saw the whole set already. But they were all solid shots that you could work with pretty easily. And I think that's a combination of A, you knowing your shit, B, the pro photo being on point and nailing it right away.
Yeah,
so
that definitely helped. I'm gonna give credit where credit's due.
A little bit of a nod to them for that.
Yeah, it's a $2,000 light for a reason, people. It just works. It works reliably. Okay, because I was going into this shoot with a get in, get out, get the shot, and get something printable. Not necessarily the best shot, but a good shot in mind. I was able to work a lot faster. I was staying with safe choices. You know, we have this rocky barricade and some asphalt. We didn't leave the asphalt during my set. First thing you did was have the model climb down on the rocks, and you got into the water like shortly after we started shooting your set. Okay.
All right, so we just got finished going through Jason's set, so I'd like to hear your thoughts on mine.
All right, so one thing we were discussing earlier is that we have very different styles on location. You take risks, and you go right for the shot you have in mind, and you are willing to take that risk. Not a lot of photographers do that, but you're also able to quickly pivot. You're trying out a setup where you were using my Octabox on my Profoto light on a C-stand as a very expensive reflector, probably the most expensive reflector on a set ever. So this being a one light challenge, Peter was bending the rules by using that Octabox very close to the subject to reflect that golden glow back onto the subject and bring in a key light handheld in a Westcott softbox. It was one
the Rapid Box.
Yeah, Westcott Rapid Box, handheld, off to the side while he's shooting one-handed with a really long lens. Those are your 70-200 lens, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so most people don't shoot with the 70-200 lens one-handed either, so he hits the gym for that.
But that's the great advantage of the mirrorless system is the lens is significantly lighter. It's still a big lens, no question, but it's way lighter than your 70-200 and D800 combo.
Right. I think a lot of that weight's in the camera body. Like the A7S and the A7 II are much lighter than a D800, which is, it's made of the same materials, but there's a lot more of it. It's a bulky, chunky camera. You could beat a mugger to death with it and keep on finishing your shoot if you're in the city,
So, that's a little too much.
Too much?
A little too much.
Too much? All right.
Don't
Sorry, I just moved down from New York. That's how we do it in Brooklyn. But I should not have perched myself there shooting one-handed with my 70-200 at that point. So you like to take risks. But one of the nice things about shooting with a shorter model for you is you're how tall?
6'3"?
6'3". So shots that I would need a step ladder for, he just thinks tall thoughts and stands on his tiptoes and gets up to 6'6". So he had this nice downward angle. You could see here in this first shot. I love the downward angle, but still using a really long focal length. No background clutter in that shot. And it's just the subject, some warm light, and a little bit of separation on her shoulder and the side of her head there. The only thing I would have done differently is I would have framed a little bit looser. Again, that editorial background for me. I don't mind throwing pixels away because a lot of the time I have to deliver shots that are 800 pixels wide because it's not getting printed bigger than that.
And I agree with you on that. I think that was one of the things that I missed on that shot too. The fingertips.
Yeah, and the fingertips. Got to watch the hands, got to watch the feet.
Hands, feet, and face, are your most expressive things. And when I went back afterwards, I was like, oh, I can't believe I missed that.
And by this much too, if her front arm in that shot were in it, I would have no qualms about it. But also just a little bit of breathing room between her shoulder and the edge of the frame. Yeah. I would like to see a little bit more context for the shot.
Agreed.
But otherwise, love it. And that was a quick pivot too. Between when you started shooting and had that keeper shot, decided you were on to the next thing, that was maybe 5 minutes, trying 2 setups and getting a keeper take. So taking that a step further, you backed up into the water and you got long with that lens. You were pretty far back from her. The working distance there was about 25 feet or so?
Yeah.
A pretty long lens?
And so with the second one, what I wanted to do was I wanted to give a little bit more. her. And so what I did was I was shooting straight onto her almost at my standing height. And the problem was I started getting that background, kind of like what you had with the cars and stuff.
Yep.
But by that point, the sun had fully come up. They weren't dark. And from the angle I was shooting at, it was getting them light.
Yeah.
So I had to figure out a way to get rid of them. The best way I could think of was just get super low.
Yep. So watching you get low was pretty funny to watch. Like we're gonna see this on camera here while we talk about it. So you were crouched down as low as you could go. You had the camera barely off the water. Your next drive actually took a dip a few times, and you were shooting up into the palm trees there. But we're also right by a causeway bridge in the middle of Tampa Bay, right? I would some distracting background elements, and again with the framing looser, we're amputating her leading leg there. For someone, again, she's not very tall, but she has very long legs relative to her torso length. I would like to have seen that outstretched leg in the frame. So perhaps a shorter focal length. And a horizontal framing, but this is a shot I would be happy with without the traffic lights in the background. Too. There was this shot. You had the rim light behind the subject, off camera left, if I recall.
Actually, this one here.
Is this one available light?
So this one is not just available light. The flash is hitting her. I don't think we get any noticeable issues, but when you can actually see in another shot that I have, the flash is actually firing literally right behind her.
Gotcha. Yeah, I saw on the 100% view of this, there's just a little hint of it on the edge of her hairline. So a little more of a powerful pop there. I would have been happier with it. But otherwise, this was probably one of your riskier shots of the day in terms of almost dropping your phone in the drink and getting your camera low to some salt water there.
I call it camera brain. I get into the mode and I start shooting and I'm thinking about the shot and almost nothing else matters, and that's probably how I'm going to die one day.
I mean, in the military, it's called target fixation. They tell fighter pilots, if you're doing a gun run, don't stick around in that dive and watch your rounds hit. You got to pull up and out of the way. Now, in shot, talk to me about what's going on there.
So number 3, the flash is just barely filling in her hair there. I mean, it is literally a kiss of light. So soft.
Yep.
Because I didn't want to have harsh daylight on her.
Yeah, the shots where the flash didn't fire on that set, for me, I think the best part of flash on this exposure is what's happening on the side of the sunglasses there. Because you have the light from the sun giving it just a little hint of the directionality of the light there on the front. But with black sunglasses against her dark hair, you can see the speed lights filling in just that little bit of the side of the arm of the sunglasses, bringing that in and giving it some separation there, bringing it up a little bit bluer, which I like. And also on the shots where the flash didn't fire, you could see that her hair was much, much darker on that side. So I think the flash worked wonders there. From this set, for me, that's the shot that the client would see first. That would leave the best impression.
So for me, if I had to kill my darlings though, I probably would scrap the first 2. To go super harsh. The fingers coming off, if I saw this in another photographer's portfolio, I'd say no. The second one, if I saw that in a portfolio, if it were longer and spread out, sure, maybe.
Yeah.
But as it is now, no, I would kill that. I would never put that in my portfolio of work.
I would agree on the second one. I would have liked to have seen a wider horizontal framing from that vantage point, so we get the tops of the palm trees. And again, talking about editorial usage, that's something an editor could use as a 2-page layout, where you have the subject on the left page and a lot of bleeding looking room to the right side of the frame. And the tops of the palm trees being in there gives us bit more color pop, so I also agree I would strike shot 2. Shot 1, the fingertips, we could live without them. They're not the star of the photo. Her face is, and you're drawn immediately to it with the beautiful sunrise being reflected right off of her sunglasses. I would keep that one. I would, depending on the body of work I'm putting it into, I wouldn't mind seeing that on a photographer's website. I wouldn't be offended by it or have pause about hiring them because of it.
3 is obviously my favorite of that crew.
3's your moneymaker, right?
I mean,
there,
that shot looks like Warby Parker could have put it in their ad because that's what the glasses are.
Yeah, a little bit looser framing and again leaving some bleed space for some sales text. That could be a Ray-Bans ad.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so that's the shots that I had.
Yeah, all in all, not a bad take across 2 photographers, 1 model, same location, 2 very different looks. And I gotta say, For shots that we started taking at 6:30 in the morning and we were done and out by 7:45, not bad all in all.
Yep. So that's it for the first series of this. If you want to leave some comments below, let us know what you think. We'd love to hear them. Your comments are our oxygen. That's what allows us to be able to do that. So thanks for watching, and we look forward to showing you our next challenge.
Remember, anything you can do with photography is awesome.